Welcome to another Run with Julia video. For any of you who've never seen one of my videos before, I am an athlete, I am 64 years old and I am finding out what is possible in my 60s. I am an athlete of 52 years of competition, so I started competing when I was 12 and just recently, well actually a year ago, I decided that I would see what is possible in my 60s. And even more recently, in the last few weeks, I've been reflecting and thinking, actually, mileage has always worked for me. Conventional wisdom says that when you're a number of years on this planet, that running lots of miles isn't a good idea. Well, I'm going to find out whether what's always worked for me as a younger athlete can work for me as what would be described as older athlete. I started seriously running when I was 15. I started competing before that, but I joined an athletics club then. And within a very short time, as a young athlete, 17, 18 years old, I was running 70 miles a week to good effect. It's always worked for me. It's always worked for me to run lots of miles, easy miles, conversational miles, not pushing miles, and intersperse that with some threshold running and some interval training. Anaerobic interval training never's really been good for my body. I don't cope well with lactic. I store it very quickly. I did a VO2 max test when I was younger, and I start storing lactic acid after about 3 or 4 millimoles, which is, means that I'm being poisoned. So mileage works. And then through my 20s into my early 30s, I ran at international level, and I ran mileage. The highest mileage was 120 miles in a week, but generally 90 miles a week worked. And I ran times varying from 15:51 5k, 33.5 10k, 72:48 for half marathon, although the course was questionable. It was the Bath half marathon, but I often ran a 73, 74. 10-mile race, 55:08, marathon 2:36. I ran all those times off mileage. My best 5k came off big miles. And then in my 30s, I came out of my international career at 32, 33. I worked in the city, particularly in London, but all over the country actually, thinking about it, in the corporate world as a coach, mentor, teacher, guide, whatever, counsellor, which is what I've always done my whole life and I'm still doing. And then in my late 30s, I thought, I'm ready to kind of have another go at running. And again, very soon on big miles, 80 miles a week, I did a patch over quite a few months, but I got my times down to 35 for 10k, 78 half, and 2:54 or 56 marathon. Then I needed to address all the injuries that I had sustained in my earlier career. I've got a wonky 4th vertebrae because I was kicked in the ribs by a horse when I was 8. It's sort of out, and it's given me a scoliosis in the spine, my thoracic section. So I had to address all that and align myself. But by my middle 40s, I was the fastest runner in Sussex. I was outright 2 miles to the marathon, and I ran times of 36, 37 for 10k, 83 half, and the 54, 56 marathon. I then went towards ultras in my late 40s, and I thought maybe I was going to be an ultra runner in my 50s, but actually did a couple of ultras that went very well, but thought this isn't the path for me. Early 50s, I decided therefore to train again for a marathon, and I ran a 3:08 marathon when I was 52. I'd run about 90 minutes for a half leading up to it, and was really enjoying it, really enjoying my running, really enjoying the miles. I then met Anadi, who is my husband, and we've been together since then. That was 2012, but very soon after meeting him, we had this plan that we were going to shed all our belongings and become digital nomads. That's a story in itself. But we did that, and we set off, and for 6 years we lived with only what we could carry on our back. I continued to work. My clients came out to do intensives with me. I popped back to the UK and I worked online a lot, and I let the competitive running go. I would run in races occasionally in Greece and St. Lucia and places all over the world, but and I trained, I liked running, but I let it go, which was actually a very important part of my running career. And I also went barefoot in 2016. I've always run barefoot on beaches, and it's been part of my orientation, but I completely went barefoot in 2016, and then in 2017 I started training to run across Spain. We've come back to the UK, and it was a year ago. I'd been meeting Rosie, my sister, who if any of you watched the videos, you'll have met Rosie, and she was keen on running, and she would say, oh, let's do this park run, and oh, come on, let's do a 10K. So I'd turn up not particularly fit. I mean, I've always been fit, but not running fit, run round. And it was on my birthday, or around my birthday, in my 63rd birthday, and I ran this 10K in Richmond Park, and I didn't run very fast or anything. I ran 54 minutes or something. And I was like, something in my body and my spirit said, let's find out, let's go for it, let's see what you can do again. And my inner voice said, put some shoes on, do some training, let's do it again. Because my running's my art, my running's my music, my running's for me, it's the way I paint my own picture. And it's something I've loved. I've often thought, you know, is it time, do I need to let it go? But it's always stayed. And during lockdown, I let it go a lot because I was working so much. I was working 7 days a week, and I just let it go. I kept fit, but I didn't do. I think some people did more exercise in lockdown. I did less. Anyway, this last year has been fabulous fun. Getting myself faster and fitter again. I'm running some good times, but I haven't really done the miles. I had this vague idea I was going to do a marathon for a while, at the end of last year, and I started to put my miles up, but then went off the marathon idea. So I would say I've kind of, 30 to 40 miles a week. But recently I've been reflecting and thinking, well, I've always done miles before. Why wouldn't I do them now? Why wouldn't I find out? Why wouldn't I go against the conventional wisdom that says I'm 64 and that I should do less? Why not do what's always worked for me and find out? So this is the plan, and I've been applying myself to subtly increasing the miles, and I've been putting them in kilometres because it's kind of fun to do something different. My running career's always had different patches, and also running with you is fabulous. It's a whole new adventure. It's a whole new running career for me, to be finding out what's possible in my 60s and running with you. And part of what I do is, as well, is occasionally, if my legs are tired or I'm not really feeling it, is run and walk. And when I was 22, I read Ernst van Aken. He was a great coach, and he really recommended long, slow distance, which was great because it really worked for me. He also recommended walking breaks, and all of my life I've heeded that advice. And if I'm very tired, I'll often do 1 minute walk, 9 minutes running, or 1 minute walk, 4 minutes running. And so yesterday, Monday, I went for 10K, I think I ran in the end, but it was 1 minute walk, 4 minutes run. This is gorgeous. I'm very much enjoying this. I'm walking for 1 minute and running for 4. That's a really lovely session. It feels like you can go on forever. And something that I've noticed over the years is that I respond to mileage, or kilometrage as it is now. And the more I can do and not get too tired, the better my running gets. And of course, to run more miles, more kilometres, you need to create a lifestyle to support that. And in recent years, my lifestyle has been very full of work, and particularly since lockdown. So just easing the space and creating the time, because obviously, well, there's always enough time. It's how we spend the time, of course. Oh, I've got to run again. Gone over my minute walk. With the curtains. This man got out of the way. He would have been there. I love pens. I love water. I used to live by the sea. I'm looping the loop on the grass. I like runs without a route. The route's choosing itself as the kilometres unfold. When lockdown was announced on March the 20th, 2020 wasn't it? I said to Anadi, oh well, I don't mind if I have a bit of a holiday. They were very famous last words because I'm a therapist, a counsellor, a teacher, a healer, a mentor, a guide, whatever people name me as in people's lives. And I had more work than I've ever had in my life. And I've always had a lot of work. So I have to say that I was still running barefoot then, and I did a lot less. And so it's since May 2022, when I turned 63, I was like, right, let's put my shoes back on. Let's see how fast I can run in my 60s. And I decided that I had ahead of me. If I was 23, I'd be thinking I had 10 years ahead to see what was possible, or more, of course. But I thought I'm going to start a 10-year career and see what is possible. I hope you enjoyed meander in Battersea Park. So just to let you know, the mileage / kilometerage of the last 4 weeks, I've got it written down, from when I first had this idea that I would start to increase the miles and record them in kilometres, because it just feels like a new thing. So week 1 I did 62 kilometres, which is around 39 miles for the week. Week 2 I did 71 kilometres, which is around 44 miles. Week 3 I did 81 kilometres, which is about just fractionally over 50 miles. And last week I did 80 kilometres, which is 50 miles. So I think this week I'm aiming to run 88, and again I will listen to my body. What I used to do was do 1, 2, 3 weeks going up and bring 1 down. At the moment I think I'm just going to flow with what's going on and see if I can build, because the work was a time too when I just went straight in the winter and would run 100 miles in the week, and then I'd do that for 6 to 8 weeks and just do it. So as I say, this is more me sharing with you what I'm doing, and the most important thing I'd emphasize is, as I have said before, it's about never doing so much one day that you can't do something the next. And for me, mileage often feels like it enhances my health and enhances my well-being, and I get stronger, and it doesn't break me down. It's always thinking in terms of building up, not breaking down. And I do run very easily, and I put these sessions in with walking breaks. And at the moment, I think my intention now is probably just 2 faster sessions a week, 1 interval session and 1 either race or interval session, and that 2 is plenty. So let's see. And if you've enjoyed this video, as usual, please put the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to find out this unfolding and see what can be, see what can happen, see what's possible, please do subscribe and run with me.